Look at that cheeky laugh.
That did happen. I remember that quite well, actually. That was that was when you give racing drivers who are still teenagers too much time.
Back to the Fast and the Curious. This is the Formula One podcast that interviews the biggest names from around the paddock, and we've got a really big one today, by the way. In the last month alone, we've heard from Kimi Antonelli, Damon Hill, F1 Academy's Chloe Chong, and Will Buxton as well. All of those and so many more are over on our podcast feed and YouTube if you missed them. But before you dive into all of that to go back and have a listen, we've got an excellent name to add to the list as we look ahead to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I'm Betty Glover. Christian Hugill is here as well. And making his debut is Ollie Bearman. Hello, Ollie. What was that you've just put in your mouth? What are you eating, Ollie?
Sorry, little snacks and Haribos.
Oh, go on. Which one? Show us. Oh, okay.
Star Mix. Can't go wrong.
Average choice.
So next time you guys are talking, I'm gonna use that opportunity.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll let you do that. I feel like we've just got so much to talk to you about. We've got some listener questions to throw to you as well. But Christian, what do you want to open with? What do you want to ask Ollie?
I'd like to ask you, hi Ollie Bearman, how are you? How is Saudi Arabia treating you?
Very good, thank you. I arrived this morning in Saudi. Now it's the evening. It's tough to adjust to the night schedule of a race like this, but I prefer the night races because I'm a teenager. So, yeah, that works for me.
Do you just stay up all night? Is that what you like doing?
Well, I mean, it's easier to stay up and wake up late than it is to go to sleep and wake up early. So, yeah, that fits more with my schedule. I'm more of a night owl, do they call us?
Yeah, night owl. I get that. I appreciate that. I'm probably the same. Are you sort of like used to the sort of Formula One schedule now? Like your life, it must be so intense, like so much going on, so many people all the time, so much racing. You must never get a chance to think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's a big step from what I'm used to in Formula 2. You know, we have an extra 10 races this year, and yeah, it's crazy. You know, I'm only 5 races in, and I'm already starting to understand how it's quite taxing. You know, the amount of travel involved with this sport, and definitely the first 5 races, you know, they're the furthest 5 races that we have. So they started us off with the bad ones, and then it's going to get easier. But no, it's a big step from what I'm used to, but I'm loving it. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Ollie, I don't know if you remember, the last time you and I spoke was in Austin on a stage, and you did a stage show with me and Mika Hakkinen. Do you remember this?
Oh, I do remember that. That was an incredible experience.
Oh, that's very kind. I mean, Mika's a legend.
He was quite funny, actually. He didn't make me laugh.
He's been on this podcast. He's a very funny man. But Ollie, we mentioned like you making your debut in Australia, and I really vividly remember mentioning Australia to you, and your eyes like lit up, and it looks like you couldn't wait. How does it feel now it's all here and you're doing it and you're a Formula One driver? And we know you got the taste last year, but it's different now. You're a full-time F1 driver, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I got the taste last year, which definitely left me wanting more. And I'm so happy that I have more this year. You know, to have the opportunity of a full season in Formula One is an incredible feeling, and I'm so lucky and grateful to be in this situation and looking to make the very most out of it. You know, last year I was so jealous of the people who did the whole season, and now I'm in their shoes. So feeling very lucky, but just really, really enjoying it as well. It's been an incredible ride so far, and I can't wait for the rest of the season.
I bet you're really enjoying it, but I bet you're enjoying it more after Bahrain, because what a race that was. Are you still buzzing from it? You went from last to 10th.
Yeah, that was an incredible race. It was like one of those online races, you know, when they try to see where they can finish after starting last. But honestly, I was not expecting to be in the points. You know, that was not an option for me on Sunday morning. And yeah, it was just an insane race. Of course, we got a bit lucky with the timing of the safety car, but we still, as a team, executed a fantastic result and really got the most out of it. The pace was amazing, and to have both cars in the points after a difficult qualifying for both cars, I think we did a fantastic job. So really proud of them.
Ollie, how are you dealing with the highs and lows of F1? Because there's been you're not the only of the rookies to have dealt with this year. I look at like Isaac Hadjar, who had, a tough Australia and then has bounced back. And you obviously had a tough Australia, but then I was interviewing your boss in the paddock in Japan. And as I was talking to him after qualifying, you literally bounced out the garage and gave a couple of your guys a hug. Like, you actually bounced out, massive grin on your face. And I just sort of thought to myself, like, it's mad that here you are, like, absolutely buzzing, and then there's been trickier times before. How do you deal with the sort of highs and lows of all of this? Because it's still new to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm understanding that probably not every weekend is going to be amazing. That with the frequency of races that we have, there's more chances that I don't perform or the team doesn't perform or something doesn't go our way. So I'm just kind of, allowing myself for that to happen. There's going to be races where I don't perform my best, and qualifying in Bahrain was a good example of that. And I think that's the best way to stay strong mentally. I'm not expecting myself to do a great quali lap or a great FP lap in every single race weekend of the year, because there's so many opportunities, and we're all human. So I think that's the best way, and it allows me to bounce back and not take things too personally when it doesn't go our way. And that's worked out for me so far, and hopefully it continues to be the case.
I guess one thing that can help you with those highs and the lows is your family, because I know your dad and your brother were in Bahrain with you, and they even popped up on the radio, didn't they? So that must help, sort of having that support from your family.
Yeah, it's really nice. And, going from Formula 2 to Formula 1, an extra 10 races, so much travel and so much less time to spend with my family and my loved ones. So to have them come visit me at the races is amazing, and get a taste of home at the track, which is really, really nice. And honestly, I had a super fun weekend with my brother and my dad with me in Bahrain. We were swimming in the pool and messing around all day. So yeah, it was good fun, and we had a good race to back it up as well. So all good.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet. Ollie, we mentioned just before we came on air that this is a light-hearted podcast, and we're not going to sit here and grill you about stuff. There was a little line there.
Is that the grilling done then?
No, it's starting.
No, it's just about to start. Sorry. We do have something to ask you about. Now, you heard Betty at the start of the podcast mention that the last F1 driver we had on was Kimi Antonelli. You'll be aware of his work. He's your former teammate. Now, Kimi,
I'm aware of his work.
You're aware of his work. Kimi told us a little story. For those who don't remember, let's have a little watch.
You can ask him. So Spa last year, we made a joke to his physio, to his personal coach, training coach, and we made a joke, and we stole his credit card. And
stole Ollie's credit card?
No. The trainer. The Ollie's
physio.
Trainer's.
Fine, right. Okay. So, that's almost worse, but fine.
And then we went on the internet and we started buying random stuff with this card. And,
Oh my God!
and Ollie.
Poor trainer.
And Ollie, but then when we were buying it, I was like, "Do you know your trainer's address?" And he was like, "Yes, I know it." So then we shipped all the stuff we bought to his house, and we didn't tell him anything.
Look at that cheeky laugh.
That did happen. I remember that quite well, actually. That was when you give racing drivers who are still teenagers too much time.
Yeah. Can you tell us what you bought? Because Kimi couldn't remember. Oh,
look, someone's just walked in as you asked that question. What was the question again?
Can you remember what you bought, or are you choosing not to remember what you bought?
I have a vague idea of what we bought, but I can't really elaborate.
I think that's almost better.
I think it was stuff to help our trainer improve his training.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting.
I like
okay.
this. I like this.
I had an idea of what it was in my head, but that hasn't backed that up.
I can't tell you what we bought, because that's personal to my trainer.
Sure.
But I can tell you that that wasn't the only occasion that we took things out of his wallet
Oh.
because, well, he lost his identity card at the races. So that meant that he wouldn't leave the track until he found it.
Oh
So
no.
he ended up closing the garage, basically.
Oh, Ollie.
So
Your
it was
poor
basically just
trainer.
a season of bullying my trainer, essentially, which made it incredibly fun.
Well, this is what I was about to ask. What did this poor man do to deserve this? And is he still your trainer, or has he gone off on
Well,
compassionate leave?
funnily enough, he's not my trainer anymore, so maybe that's
I wonder
that's
why.
part of it.
He thought, I
But
can't deal with this anymore.
now he works with Gabriel Bortoletto, so I know his phone password and I know exactly where he keeps his identity card. So maybe I can pass that information on to my lovely F1 teammate
Yeah.
Gabriel.
So, who's your trainer now? And are you going to be doing this with your current trainer at Haas?
No, my trainer now is called Martin, and he used to work with Nico, but the problem is that he's not like of the age where you can do that stuff to him, you know? Because,
Right.
he's like my uncle or my dad maybe. He's a bit
Right, okay.
I don't think he'd see the funny side, you know?
No,
And he's gonna
sure.
kill me for saying this, but the thing is I don't have an immature teammate anymore either, so I can't be immature, which is really boring.
Oh, that's really sad for you. I feel like you need to find a pal that you can be immature with in Haas.
I know like Esteban's too grown up and professional for me, which is all boring. But maybe in the long run it'll help me out.
But Ollie, just before we move on from this, I'm sure you and Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli and Haas and all your legal representatives would like to say that this was all done in jest and this was no crimes were committed and this was all just good fun, wasn't it, Ollie? Say yes.
It was, yeah. He loved it. He was really enjoying everything. So yeah, all good.
We have got some listener questions to get on with Ollie in a second. But before we do that, I've got some questions for you, young Christian Hugill.
For me, Betty Glover.
Yeah, you're heading to some pretty big races soon, aren't you?
Yes, my next two are Miami, where I've been before, which I'm very excited to go back, and Monaco, where I've never been before.
I don't think you get bigger than that. That's amazing.
I am excited to go to Monaco. I'm slightly nervous in a weird way, but very excited.
And also the fun thing is that we've got our competition winner Frankie going to Miami as well, so you can go and say hi to her. That's going to be amazing.
Do we think Frankie will go to Hollywood or just Miami?
Just
Miami, sure.
I'm not sure, babe. You can ask her though, can't you? But was that a song lyric? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't deal well with your song lyrics. What was it? What was the song?
Frankie goes to Hollywood's a thing, yeah.
Never heard of that in my life.
No. Anyway, carry on.
I was wondering why. I don't know why she's going to Hollywood. I don't know what she's bloody doing. Anyway. Monaco is another one that so many people want to go to. It's one of the most famous sporting events in the world, isn't it? So many people want tickets, and it is on their Grand Prix bucket list. Why? What makes it so special?
Oh, it is. F1 loves its history. And yes, we've got Vegas. Yes, we've got Miami. But Monaco, if you're a Formula One fan like me, it was always the ultimate. And it still is the ultimate test. There is no sporting test like it in the world. So it's a unique sporting test for sports fans like us, Betty. For F1 fans, you know, the glitz, the glamour, like it's one of the great sporting things. Like very few things are bigger than the Monaco Grand Prix. It's massive.
And you're quite lucky because Formula One sort of book all of your travel and organise it for you because you go out there working for them. But I also know you very well as a person. And I know if you didn't have them helping you, you would struggle because you're incredibly unorganised and you're actually, no, you're quite an organised person.
No,
but you're
I'm
very
organised.
bad. You're very bad with directions.
Correct.
Like, you get lost quite a lot.
Yeah, right. So I struggle with going around the place I live, let alone foreign countries. So for all the organisation in the world, I've got no idea where I'm going. And if F1 didn't book my travel, I've said this before, I could not do my job before technology. And a genuine true story, I think some people saw on my Instagram, at one point in Japan, I got lost and ended up in a mad casino and thought I was going. Like, I get lost on race weekends all the time, and people do it for me.
Same.
Yeah.
When we were at Silverstone, we got lost so much. I don't think if producer Jimmy wasn't with us, we wouldn't have ended up
God
going
for
anywhere.
Jimmy. Yeah.
We would have been lost in the car park.
Greg was no use either.
To go to a Grand Prix, there is so much admin involved, isn't there?
So you got to think about your flights, you got to think about your accommodation, you got to think about the things that catch you out. Like, oh, good, I've got there, but the circuit's nowhere near my hotel, or the circuit's nowhere near where I land and the airport. There is so much to think about. Going to a Grand Prix is an intimidating prospect. Tickets as well. There's so much to think about.
Don't. But you know what? Thankfully, Christian, there is a solution for people like me and you, or just anyone that loves Formula One and wants all of that faff and hassle taken care of. Gulliver's Travel have been helping sports fans get to events all over the world for years and years, and they have got some brilliant packages on offer for the Monaco Grand Prix. Everything from travel to accommodation to the tickets to the race. They have literally got you covered in every single aspect you could think of.
I love this because this is exactly what I do, and don't for a minute think I'm saying this as just a podcast thing. This is exactly what I do. So you also presume that you're going to have to book tickets 6 years in advance, whereas you don't. Like, they've got Monaco Grand Prix packages. Like, if you've got a free weekend, you could just do it. And I'm looking at their plans now. You also get a choice, which I love. So they've got hotel options in Nice, Cannes, or Monte Carlo, which means you could sort of, as well as seeing the Grand Prix, you could see another bit of it, which is brilliant. Loads of different ticket options. Again, I mentioned the tickets earlier, from general admission up to hospitality. Potentially a special chartered flight, so you get excited with other F1 fans on the way.
Go on.
Dedicated tour managers at every step of the way, so when you inevitably do a Christian Hugel and get lost, you don't end up in a Japanese casino, which if you ended up in a Japanese casino in Monaco, you'd have definitely gone too far, but I'd find a way. So you can speak to the tour managers and find out sort of where you need to be next and what your itinerary is. And there's not a better one to do it with than Monaco, because it's a small place where lots of people go. It's busy. It's an absolute dream race to go to. But the fact you can book everything you need and have the lovely people at Gulliver's sort it for you, total dream. Like, total dream. And my dad's looking at them to get to a Grand Prix as well. Like, because I was just like, just let them do it. It's just not worth the faff, Chris. Let them do it.
Chris, they'll sort you out. And also, we'll take a leaf out of Gulliver's book and make it even easier to find all of those options, so you don't have to go searching the big old wide web. We've put a link to all of their Monaco packages in the description of this episode, and also in the bio of our Instagram. So there we go, guys. Go and take a look.
Gulliver's Travel will sort everything you could possibly need for a Formula One weekend. That's not their slogan, but I've just said it because it's true.
Ollie, we've got a couple of listener questions for you, by the way. And also, I think it says a lot about you that none of these questions are actually about your racing, but they all just want to get to know you as a person. So Ethan says, hi, Ollie. Firstly, fun fact, I actually had breakfast at a cafe in Melbourne, sitting on the table next to you and your family on the Monday after the Australian Grand Prix, but he was too scared to say anything to you. But with that in mind, he says, what is your most memorable fan or stranger interaction, if you have one? And if people see you outside of racing, what should they talk to you about?
My most memorable one was in Australia, but it was actually last year. Because actually, no, I have a better one. It was in Tokyo last year. So I was in Tokyo randomly, and I was there with my mum and my girlfriend, and it was like December, and we were just walking in Tokyo.
Right.
And basically this girl came walking up to me, and she kind of tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, "Are you Ollie Bearman?" And I was completely shocked, because I was in the middle of Tokyo and I didn't expect anyone to really recognize me. So I turned around and I took a few seconds to understand what was happening. She kind of repeated her question, looking at me totally normally, and then I said, "Yes, I am." And then she just looked at me and just burst into tears.
Oh, no. What did you do?
Well, surely that's a nice thing of meeting it. That was the reason for the tears, surely.
I don't know if she was happy or sad that it was me. But I feel like if I told her, no, it's not Ollie, she would have been like, okay, see ya. But
Right, bye.
she had to wait. Exactly, she had to wait that I confirmed that I was actually Ollie, and then she just burst
Oh.
into tears.
That's the impact you have on people, Ollie Bearman. Ollie, you've got to go in 1 minute. However, I want to do this real quickfire one from Lisa, who was inspired by those pictures that did the rounds at the start of the season where you held your favourite foods and favourite music on a board. You listed your favourite music as Taylor Swift. So Lisa simply wrote, please ask Ollie what his favourite Taylor Swift song is.
Ooh, can I consult Spotify?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, your team are rushing you to finish, but you take as long as you need as our
It's okay.
perspective, Ollie.
That's fine. Wait, let's check. So I have.
He's backing it up with data. You can tell he's a Formula One
So
driver.
look, this is how many songs I have from
Oh,
Taylor
wow.
Swift in my like songs.
Oh, good man.
So
Oh, so you're a big Taylor Swift fan then? You're a Swiftie?
no, because my like songs has 1,025 songs.
Oh, wow.
Good
So
intel, this.
I don't know. I like all of them, but I really like Love Story.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Maybe I'm a
classic.
romantic. I'm a bit of a romantic, guys.
Whilst you've got your Spotify up, just really quickly, what's your most listened to song?
At the moment, I'm listening to Ordinary by Alex Warren,
Oh, yeah. Good,
and I'm
good
listening
song.
to Last Request by Paolo Nutini. That's a
Oh,
really nice song.
banger. I love that song.
That will get you
Bam.
going. That will
Really?
get you going for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Exactly. That's my pre-race hype song.
You are romantic.
I know.
Ollie, it's been such a pleasure having you. I know this has been brief, but we've already got plans in the works to get you back on for a little bit more time. I don't know if you know about this yet. Hopefully you've not found this so terrible that you'll say no to that. But Fast and Curious fans will be delighted to know we are hoping to see you in person a little bit later in the season. So for now,
Well,
Ollie...
that's good news. I just hope I don't get any more interrogation. That's enough of the interrogation.
Listen, you've done the hardest. It doesn't get any harder than that. That's...
Otherwise, I can bring a lawyer next time,
You might need it.
Yeah.
and I might
yeah,
have
think
to
you'll need it.
consult him before I reply.
Ollie, it's a joy seeing you do so well this year. Our listeners love you. We love seeing a young, talented Brit doing so well. Go well in Saudi, and we're going to be really excited to catch up with you later in the season.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck, Ollie. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Aw, what a nice boy Ollie is.
He is the nicest man. And also, it's refreshing when you hear people like across the paddock say, how lovely is Ollie? I don't know if you heard, Betty, when we had Damon on the other day. I said, Ollie Bearman's coming up. And Damon just went, oh, lovely man.
Lovely boy.
Lovely man. So, yeah, everybody really likes him. It's lovely. There's so much warmth for him. It's really nice. And we appreciate his time and Hass's time. His and Hass's time. That was more difficult than I thought it would be to let him have some chats with us.
Also, if Damon says someone's nice, then we got to trust Damon as well. I trust anything
You trust
that man
Damon Hill.
says.
He's a lovely man. And nice people, nice people, yeah, lovely.
Christian, before we go, a few things that we probably need to be keeping an eye on this weekend. Firstly, there has been so much Red Bull chat around Max Verstappen.
What's this? For those not watching on YouTube, Betty's doing the hand movements of when Wallace and Gromit does his cheese thing. Does that?
I don't know why I'm doing that.
No,
I don't
it's
know
new.
why.
I enjoy it. Is it because you've been covering swimming and you're doing like little front crawl?
No. I sort of look like a beaver. Anyway, this is so boring for those that are listening. There has been so much chat around Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Obviously, he won in Japan, but the team are going through a bit of a moment, aren't they? And they were disappointed with their pace in Bahrain. But people are saying that he's thinking about leaving. I mean, there's been rumours of that for a while, but they're heating up, aren't they? Do you think it's true? Could he leave?
I think he definitely could leave. I suspect that the performance last time out will have, I wouldn't say surprised them, but will have probably reaffirmed what they already know. So I've said so many times this season, his sheer ability will push them into fights that they shouldn't really be in. Like, they'll win races that no other driver would win. And I think, Japan's the best example of that, because the car I was on the ground all weekend, so I watched every minute of every session, and Max seemed like he was having the most awful time and pulled out this miracle quali lap, and that's what won them the race. So again, they had no right to win that race. And then you go a week later and it's like, oh, okay, back down to earth. This is the reality. That not only are we not in the fight to win, we're nowhere near the fight for the podium, and the Mercedes and Ferrari are both ahead of us. So I think it's probably just sort of underlined, oh, okay, this is where we are. And then, you know, Betty, go back to our second season of doing this pod, and we'd say, you know, when all the stuff around Christian Horner was kicking off, right? And we said, and people were leaving, we're like, well, yeah, Max isn't going to leave, and because the car's still great and the team's built around him. Well, all of a sudden, if that team that's built around him has slowly but surely, one by one, gone, and then the car's not great, well, what are you left with? So it's got to have crossed his mind. It just has to have crossed his mind. It just has to.
If he was to leave then, if this is all getting quite serious, where do you reckon he's going to go?
That's the hardest bit about all of this, because it's all very well me sat here going, he probably has thought of going. But I actually think where to go is a much trickier question than if you'd asked me this time last year. Because I don't know if you remember, Betty, but like when Audi first announced they were coming into the sport, they were linked with all sorts of big name drivers. And no disrespect to the drivers they've got, but they were linked with Carlos Sainz. And for a while it was like, oh, Carlos will go there. But then I think people realised that they've got a bigger mountain to climb than people realise. I don't know about you, Betty. It's starting to feel like people are thinking that with Aston.
This is exactly what I've heard. I feel like that's the way it's going, isn't it? And Adrian Newey's there, so...
Well, Adrian Newey's there, but obviously this season's car's come too early. But I think people were like, you know, this time 18 months ago, when they were pushing up close, and people will say, oh yeah, but there's the rule changes. Yeah, of course there is. But when a team's allowed itself to fall as much as it has, regardless of a rules reset, that will concern a driver. So I think Aston is a big risk. Okay, yes, they might be putting everything into next year and everything will be better, but there's that worry. And then the other option was, listen, Toto Wolff, despite, you know, knowing he was on the market for a driver last year when Lewis left, Toto couldn't have flirted with Max anymore. Couldn't have. But now there's rumours that George Russell is going to sign a new contract. Kimi Antonelli, we know how well he's doing. Like, he's had the start to the season that you just want him to have. And all of a sudden,
They've both been good, haven't they?
Yeah, well, that's it. And all of a sudden, Mercedes look like, oh, we might be fine. So that's a really tricky one. And there is no answer. But basically, I think you could have a situation where teams are going on sales pitches going, this is why you should come to us. Neither Mercedes or Aston can still be ruled out. Lewis went to Ferrari, so therefore stranger things have happened. But I think it's one to keep an eye on. I think it's a really interesting one. Max Verstappen's future is going to shape the drivers' market for the coming seasons. It's fascinating, and it's not done yet. It's one to keep an eye on.
You'd think most teams are going to want the best driver on the grid, though, don't you? I feel like he's going to be at the top of most people's lists, probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. It is also, though, a massive weekend in the McLaren battle. Maybe... especially a really big one for Lando after what happened last time.
I think it feels a big one for Lando because, I was looking at a lot of the comments across our Insta and YouTube, and it's really interesting because people say, oh yeah, it's only one race. And yeah, it is. And I've sort of said this, that across the year, there will be races where one's quicker than the other. And I think, Betty, you'll remember me saying it in Australia when Lando won. I was like, listen, there'll be times. And yet, it just feels like when a football team has a big defeat and they've been on a winning run, like Lando's been in good form. Abu Dhabi started the season well. But Betty, we know in football, don't we, that when a team has a shock result, you don't want to make it two because all of a sudden is a rot about to set in. I just think it feels really big for me for Lando. If Lando, knowing how hard he is mentally on himself, if Lando goes out this weekend and he's comfortably slower than Oscar, and for example, we know how close the championship is, and Oscar took the lead of the championship, that'd be a really tricky one. And I love Lando. I really like him as a human being. I love that he wears his heart on his sleeve. I'm such a fan of Lando Norris. And like I'm at Oscar, I really like both drivers, and completely honestly, and Betty, I know you do the same. But I feel like Oscar could. An off weekend for Oscar wouldn't quite be as bad as an off weekend for Lando, where after Japan it would be like, after Bahrain, I should say, it would feel tricky. Do you agree? Do you know where I'm going with this?
I do, but I also think Lando's in a bit of a different position because he's the older driver. He's been there longer. And I know he's not that much older than him. And he's, in the grand scheme, he's not really that much more experienced than him, is he? But...
Well, he's quite a few years more experienced. But I know
yeah,
what
like
you mean.
a few years, but it's not like Lewis
like
Hamilton
a decade.
experience.
Yeah, sure.
So I sort of feel like he's got that expectation on his shoulders. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll manage it, but I think you are right. If it sort of is a few races back to back and he really does start losing his confidence.
What, where Oscar's quicker, you mean?
Yeah, then that's going to be interesting to see how Lando deals with that. But I think he'll be fine. Look, Saudi Arabia, actually, and I was thinking this earlier, is a really fast track, isn't it? And it can be quite tricky. Is that going to suit Lando's driving style?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. I think the thing is with McLaren at the moment, they've got a car that is quick. It should be quickest everywhere. Bahrain shows you that. We've said before that it's a good track for gaining an average. The thing is with Saudi, it's one of those where mistakes are punished very hard. It's very fast. There's been a safety car every time the race has ran. And where you said Lando's driving style, where Lando's been struggling is the car's got a touch of the Red Bulls about it from previous years, that it's fast but difficult to control. I don't think it's a circuit that especially is well suited to Lando or well suited to Oscar and their driving styles, or McLaren's. I said they should be quickest anyway. But where that question you'd watch, Betty, is if Lando's struggling to keep not control of the car, but if Lando's struggling to keep the car behaving, well, Saudi's a track where you're not just going deep into a corner, you're hitting a wall and you're losing a front wing, or you're ending your qualifying. So Lando will be keen to go out in practice and establish a sense of calm, because if he's fighting the car a little bit, which he felt he was too much in Bahrain, this is not a track where you want to be fighting the car because the barriers will win. So that's one to keep an eye on. But we've seen him bounce back before, and I hope he does. The thing is, people say I'm not. Obviously, you can't go on a podcast and state an opinion without people saying you're biased or unbiased, whatever. I just think I want there to be a title battle. I really don't care who wins. I just want there to be a title battle. So I hope Lando recovers, and I hope the ebb and flow all season, because that's, as a fan of the sport, over any driver in particular, I just want it to be a good battle.
Oh, yeah, same. And I think it will be a good battle. Even if it's between the two McLaren drivers, I think it's going to be a good battle.
I'm starting to think it will be between the two McLaren drivers. Unless Red Bull can bring an upgrade. I still haven't ruled Max out. Unless Red Bull can bring an upgrade soon, which there's been rumours about Imola, and maybe they get the car in a better place and Max can start to rejoin that battle again. For Max, it's damage limitation while the car's as bad as it is. And until then, we're just presuming it is between the McLarens, but don't rule Max out totally yet.
Do you think the Ferraris can step it up a bit?
I don't think anyone knows. I genuinely don't think anyone knows. We're recording this before the sort of media day interviews, so we don't know what the drivers are saying yet in terms of improvements they've made. Lewis said something really interesting at the end of the race, because, I said, again, before I'd heard Lewis's interviews, qualifying hasn't been good enough, and Lewis came out in the pen after the race and said, qualifying hasn't been good enough. But what he did say was what he learnt in the race was potentially how to settle the car, how to drive the car, not dissimilar to what we were just saying with Lando, maybe learn how to get the best out of the car. So let's look at that. It feels to me that they're the third quickest team. So it feels to me the answer to your question will be no, but maybe Lewis will be able to get a bit more out of it. I hope he does. I want to see a happy Lewis Hamilton. Nothing gives me more joy than a happy Lewis Hamilton. And I really didn't like seeing him so down in the dumps last weekend again, because Martin Brundle said it on Sky as well. And I didn't realise Martin had said this, but it was like seeing him back at Mercedes again, where the sadness was back. And you don't want that. I want a happy Lewis. So I suspect they're third quickest, but let's see if they've learnt anything.
It's obviously a street circuit, isn't it? But what's overtaking like?
Oh, it's possible to overtake. It's not a track where overtaking's tricky. It's a modern street circuit, so it's wide enough. So no, it hasn't thrown up a dull race. So no, I'm optimistic we'll have a good one. And
Wow.
it also tends to throw up different strategies. I'll say we've had safety cars. Everything on paper points to it being a good race. So I look forward to seeing you for the debrief where I've confidently said that. A bit like I confidently said Max wouldn't win in Japan. Very much did. So I look forward to the debrief where we'll talk about the dull Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
No. It's going to be a good one. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. We will be back to debrief the race, whether it's good or bad. We're always here. And we're not going to dress it
always
up
here.
for you.
Yeah.
If it's a bad race, we've still got plenty to
We
talk
still love
about.
the sport. Sometimes there's a stinker like Japan, but Bahrain was great. So yeah.
Exactly. So it's fine. As always, send all of your questions, thoughts, and feelings in during the Grand Prix to @FastCuriousPod on all of the socials. And we will see you then. Enjoy it, guys.
Oh, and we've got a guest, Bella James, F1 broadcaster, influencer, journalist. She's lovely. We're very excited to have her on. A podcast newbie, Betty, who's coming on to talk about the race with us and talk a little bit about her F1 love as well. So any questions for Bella @FastCuriousPod too?
Yeah, buzzing to hear what she's got to say. Thank you so much, Christian. We will see you later. Bye, everyone.
Betty, it's a pleasure. Goodbye.